Welcome to Ignite Success. I'm your host, Snowden McFall, 25-year professional speaker, 6-time author, and women's coach. And with me today is a very interesting woman, Amanda Huffman, who is the founder of Airman to Mom LLC. So welcome. We're so happy to have you here, Amanda. You're in Virginia, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. I'm in Virginia.
So you have a fascinating background. Tell us a little bit about your background and Airman to Mom, because it's a great concept.
So I served in the Air Force for 6 years, and I deployed to Afghanistan. And then my husband is also in the Air Force. So when we became pregnant with my first child, we decided that it would make more sense for one of us to get out. So I left the Air Force to be a stay-at-home mom. That's the Airman to Mom. And now I have a podcast where I interview women to share their stories called Women of the Military.
Which is awesome. We've had a couple of women in this community here in Florida who do things for women vets. And so it's so important to promote women in the military. And I know it's not been easy. So thank you very much for your service. Really appreciate that. So
thank you.
You've had some interesting experiences as you've grown your business. And one of your lessons that you shared was know your avatar. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, for sure. When I started blogging, my degree is in civil engineering, and I thought if you spoke to everyone, then you would then you would find your audience. But actually, if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So you really have to dive down and niche down and get to the right people. And that's how I found talking specifically to women veterans to be my avatar. And technically, I'm looking for women who are joining the military, and I'm trying to help them the whole way through their military journey.
That's awesome. And I think that's so true. You know, as a coach for women, I work with professional women and women entrepreneurs. And you do have to know who your ideal client is. That's so important. So you also help girls who are thinking about getting into the military. Is that right?
Yes, I do. I'm working on a book called A Girl's Guide to the Military, and I also have a lead magnet that gives women who are looking to join the military ideas and tips and information to help their transition into the military go more smoothly.
And so what would you say is the biggest single lesson that you've learned as a woman who was, I mean, being in the Air Force is incredible. That's so important, and what a great tribute. Thank you so much for your service. But it's not been easy, I'm sure, because there's not a lot of women in the Air Force, right?
Correct. There's about 20% of women in the military. So in like the Marine Corps, it's less than 10. So there's almost double, but there were only 1 or 2 women. I mean, there's always less than 20%, but I would say in my career field, there were less than 10% women out of the whole career field. And so it was constantly being the minority and having to prove myself and to step up and be stronger and more intimidating than I normally would be.
I love that. Stronger and more intimidating. That's awesome. So what did you learn? What did you take from that? Obviously, you have a great deal of courage, but what else did you learn?
I learned that there's a lot of things in life that maybe I don't want to do and I feel like I'm afraid to do. But if I jump in and do it, then I can learn from it and I can be stronger. And in the end, it's not as difficult as I might have thought. So I always use the word like jump, it's not that far. And I use that in my military career and now as an entrepreneur.
Right. I think you're right. It's like leap and learn. Take the risk and get out there, because if you just stand still, nothing happens, right? Nobody grows that way.
Right.
And so, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, you always can learn from failures. That it's not a failure, it's you learning from your experience and helping you grow.
Right, because if you don't try, you never learn anything. So it's so important. And as you're helping these women on your podcast and you're learning from them, have there been any extraordinary experiences you've heard about?
Oh, yes, there's so many extraordinary experiences. It's hard to pick one. But if I had to pick one to talk about right now, it would be I got to interview one of the first women generals in the Air Force, Brigadier General Wilma Bott. And she served during Vietnam. She actually deployed to Vietnam for a year. And she just talked about how she was always trying to help the people in her unit. And I always thought like the first women leaders, they'd be like so tough and like they wouldn't care about their people. But she was the exact opposite. All she did that people really loved about her is that she took care of her people. She stepped up when she needed to, and she made big changes. And it was just amazing to hear her story.
Oh, that's fabulous. That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. How can people get a hold of you?
You can find my podcast, it's Women of the Military, or you can go to my blog, airmantomom.com.
Wonderful. Thank you for being with us, Amanda, and thank you for the great work that you've done.
Thank you.